Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has charged President 45 with 34 felony counts of falsifying business records stemming from an alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels prior to the 2016 election. Joining us now, Harvard law professor emeritus Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, great to see you. This is called count stacking. This is essentially one misdemeanor charge that Alvin Bragg has turned into 34. Can President Trump even begin to get a fair jury here?
Before I turn to that, I just want to say one thing about the prior segment. I think this is an area where liberals and conservatives, good liberals, true conservatives, can really get together and demand a warrant requirement for FISA applications. Also, demand that the defense have an opportunity to, or people have an opportunity to challenge the warrant in every way. This is an area where every civil libertarian, it should cross party lines. Every civil libertarian should be concerned. We need to have spying, but we need to have controls over our spying. Now, turning to New York, I want to apply the same rule that whatever happens is done in the names of civil liberties. I am not a Trump supporter. I didn't vote for Trump. I have no intention of voting for him the next time around. But I have to tell you, after 60 years of practicing and teaching criminal law, I don't think I've ever seen a weaker case than this New York case. It was a New York misdemeanor, turned it into a felony by alleging some violation of federal law, which the feds refused to prosecute on, under the absurd theory that Bragg is using in this case. Alexander Hamilton could have been put in jail. He paid hush money to prevent an affair with a married woman from coming forward. And he didn't put it on any of his forms. He was the Secretary of Treasury at the time. Indeed, he was accused of using Treasury funds. It turned out he didn't use Treasury funds. This is an awful prosecution, and it would never have been brought against anybody except in the political context. So Donald Trump is wrong, by the way, when he says jury selection is a matter of luck. It's not a matter of luck. Good lawyers have to probe very hard as to the prejudices of possible jurors. And the questions that this judge has proposed are very inadequate. For example, the main question says, do you have strong views about President Trump? That would prevent you from giving a fair trial. What potential juror is going to ever admit that he would be prevented from giving a fair trial? So we're going to get a lot of lying, a lot of perjury, a lot of people who lie to get on the jury, some people who lie to get off the jury. But jury selection in a case like this, particularly when you have a jurisdiction which was 85% Democrat, 15% for Trump, 85% against him, you need to have very careful jury selection, and you have to make sure that he can get the kind of jury that he would have gotten if it had been the trial had taken place in a fairer jurisdiction like Rockland County, perhaps, or Staten Island, or attempts to move the case. But no, it's going to be tried in Manhattan. At the very least, you have 12 jurors, 18 jurors with the special exception jurors that come in if somebody's sick. But you need to get 18 jurors who can give fair justice in this case. It's going to be a real challenge.
And the judge needs to give the latitude to make sure the attorneys can ask the right questions to suss out who will be fair and impartial on that jury panel. And by the way, 136 years Donald Trump is facing on this $130,000 alleged payment. But, Professor, I want to get your take on this because you served on the O.J. Simpson defense team. Listen to how this panel on CNN compared that case to what we see playing out with Donald Trump today.
It reminded me about Trump. Like there's some very Trumpy early elements to this case. But as a culture, everybody kind of knows Trump is guilty the way we all kind of knew that O.J. was guilty, but there's a lot of people invested in it being about something else beyond the guilt.
Part of me wonders if this wouldn't be reversed in today's day and age, too, that the MAGA crew wouldn't have been behind O.J. Simpson.
What do you make CNN comparing O.J. now to Donald Trump?
Well, it's so absurd. In the O.J. case, we were able to prove beyond any doubt that the police had tampered with one piece of evidence, a sock that had the blood of O.J. Simpson and one of his victims on it. It was poured on it by a police officer named Van Adder. What he didn't know is that the blood that he poured on the sock had a telltale chemical element in it called EDTA, which is not found in the human body. It's a blood thinner, essentially. It's rat poison. but it is found in test tubes. It's used to prevent coagulation. So we caught them. And then I was in the courthouse when, literally sitting 2-3 feet away, when they foolishly tried to make him fit the glove on his hand. They could have easily had him try before that. So, you know, whether he was guilty or innocent, we know he didn't get a fair trial. Everybody thinks Trump is guilty. Well, I'm not a Trump supporter. I don't think he's guilty of this crime. Let's wait to see what other crimes are alleged against him. But this is not a crime. He is being charged with something that isn't criminal at all. And if his name weren't Donald Trump, I think this case would have been dismissed by a fair trial judge, because you can't use a federal case that wasn't brought without even specifying what case it is to turn a state misdemeanor into a state felony.
Right.
And so, you know, I hope his lawyers will fight hard and let, you know, what my only point is, we have to have one standard of justice for everybody. You can't have one standard for Republicans, one standard for Democrats, because today it might be used against the Republican, tomorrow it's going to be used against the Democrat, and the day after tomorrow it'll be used against you. This case would set a terrible, terrible precedent if it resulted in a conviction. But it may result in a conviction because this is New York City and jurors are influenced by their political points of view. Most of the jurors don't want Trump to be the next president. I don't want Trump to be the next president. But could the jurors keep their views of politics outside of the courtroom, outside of the jury box? That's going to be a real challenge, and this judge doesn't seem up to it.
Alan Dershowitz, we always like to have you on because you don't lay out the Republican standard or the Democrat standard. You lay out the Republican standard. Thank you for being on the bottom line today. We appreciate it. And letting us.
Well, I try to. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan Dershowitz.